Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Puneet, your co-host for the evening, along with my good friend and colleague Rishabh Jain, and we are hoping to have a really interesting discussion today. But before we formally initiate the discussion, I would like to share something with you all on a lighter note. This is a widely relatable tweet which is visible on your screens right now, which got viral recently. And the reason you may ask, well, we can all relate to it, right? Because 6 months ago, we had no idea that we would be having this discussion today. And I see this as an opportunity to meet all of you lovely people out here. So that was something that I really wanted to share with you. Okay. I think we can begin now formally. So, a seemingly cautionary circular from the MHRD dated 15th March 2020 instructed the students to travel back home safely to avoid catching a creepy virus haunting the world. Well, even at that moment, we didn't realize that our education would be turned into a streaming service. To tell you the truth, I have even cancelled my Netflix subscription as well. But jokes apart, the situation has a far reaching consequences that we may not realize right now. Right from the admission process to the pedagogy to the placements, everything is severely impacted. At this moment, we are all playing a psychological tug of war. On one hand, the growing fear and paranoia of catching the deadly virus is impelling us to study virtually. And on the other hand, the pain of missing out on campus life, your friends, and a lot of other things that I cannot mention here is craving us to go back even at the cost of our health. Since the day of the announcement of the first lockdown to this current phase of considerably non-restrictive Unlock 4.0, we have been constantly hearing a lot of perspective of people who are not actually the representatives of student fraternity. And that makes us wonder, where is the actual students' representation and their perspective? Where are all the anecdotal stories of getting up 5 minutes before the class or sneakingly nibbling to our favorite snacks right in the middle of the classes? Or all the hilarious background noises? Keeping this pertinent issue of the lack of students' perspective in our daily discourse, Vani, the literary and public speaking club of IIM Amritsar, came up with the idea of Samvad, where we discuss about student-centric issue from their own perspective. And the theme for today's discussion, as you might have guessed by now, is education in COVID times. In order to have a diverse perspective on the topic and to get out of our echo chamber that we are often accused to live in as B school students, we have invited a panel from distinct educational backgrounds. Now, Rishabh will introduce you to today's panelists. Over to you, Rishabh.
Thank you, Puneet. So joining us for the discussion today are Indrajit Singh, first year MBA student at IIM Jammu, Akash Sethi, third year MBBS student at Government Medical College Baroda, Pratham Kalra, second year BCom honors student at Sri Ram College of Commerce, popularly known as SRCC, and sorry for that disruption, guys. So fourth one is Anirudh Venkat Chiliraje, fourth year mechanical engineering student at National Institute of Technology, Trichy. And finally, we have Niharika Ghosh, first year MBA student at IIM Amritsar. Thank you to all our guests for joining us on this edition of Samvad. So let me begin the discussion with you, Ms. Niharika. It's been more than 6 months since the onset of pandemic and the shift to online education. So let us understand what are some of the major difficulties with online education from students' point of view.
Hi. So honestly, I'm going to get right into it, right? Like my first and foremost primary difficulty, and I guess all students can relate to this, is convincing my seniors and my faculty that online education is safe. Because throughout the day. And coming to this, there has been a lot of problems in terms of the online education system that we talk about. And if I have to represent not just like say the MBA fraternity, if I talk about it even in terms of the way it has impacted education in general. So let me talk about how we are privileged, each and every one of us, because we have access to this net, we have access to this laptop or phones, right? We're able to connect. What about those that are not able to do so, right? when you look at the statistics and do the lots of research that you're all adept at because you're here, you will realize there are like say 86% that are more impacted by this than the rest, which is the lower developed countries. But coming to our situation, I face a lot of issues. For example, like Puneet had rightly mentioned, right? Nibbling on snacks, or like, even just like taking small breaks. There's this thing, inherent miscommunication that keeps happening between your peers and between your colleagues and between your faculty, right? That's one thing that is problematic. Secondly, when we are talking about peer learning, I would like to have someone at 3:30 a.m. waking me up and teaching me a concept instead of me having to schedule these Zoom meetings. And network is a pain. Network is the biggest pain, and I'm assuming all of us would relate to it. I'm going to be honest. Like out of the 5 panelists here, 3 of us already dropped out once before, at least on a minimum count. And I can assure you, I'm going to be the flag bearer for this one too. I'm going to drop out multiple times. I'm going to keep disappearing and reappearing. And this is what is problematically inherently wrong with online education. Like especially as MBA students and like deadlines and whatnot. But this is something that I do believe that we can all like be at par with.
Yes, I could totally relate to a lot of things that you just said, Niharika. Thank you. Now taking the discussion forward with Anirudh. So Anirudh, since you come from a technical background, which requires a lot of practicals and lab exercises, so how are you able to manage those things online?
Thank you, Puneet. Just a normal check. I hope I'm audible to everybody. You can just give
Yes.
a thumbs up if I am. Okay.
Yes.
So the hardest part, so I'm a mechanical engineering student. And for us, watching machines work is not just the right way to go about it. Like for us, when we look at a lathe and we see somebody operating it, we can think, wow, he's doing something. But when we do it ourselves, commit mistakes in the lab, and then hopefully try and take that knowledge forward, that's when we get the practical experience of engineering itself. So one of the biggest problems that we faced is that, at least as most of you guys know, in engineering, the broad classification of departments would be circuital and non-circuital. For the circuital branches like CSC, EC, I mean computer science, electronics, EEE, for all of them, it's a bit more simple for them to get through the practical experience simply because the materials they can be used are procurable everywhere. For computer science students, the whole thing is online. So for them, instead of just doing it on the local server, they're doing it on HackerRank. There is some arrangement that can be made. But those of the non-circuital, mechanical engineering, metallurgy, production, for us, the whole lab experience is probably something that we miss. Think about it this way. As an automobile engineering student, I want to see and operate the particular clutch system. And now I am in front of a Zoom screen with 20 screens, and we have one guy sitting over there tapping some buttons. How the hell would I know whether that is the right way, whether I would gain that experience? And then half the time, simply because of the network issues like Niharika mentioned, I wouldn't be able to just see it. I'll miss out something, and then when we come back, it's all gone. So practical learning is something that's taken a huge beating per se, probably because we were never prepared for it. But now with this experience, I hope the institutes take it a bit forward and we have a collated system wherein online and offline can help the student gain full knowledge. That's it from my side.
All right, Anirudh. So this is where I would like to bring Indrajit to discussion. So Indrajit, when on campus, we are surrounded with people of similar motivation and goals. Basically, we are part of a system. But with study from home, how important or what is the state of self-discipline and motivation of students?
Certainly, Rishabh, that's a very interesting question that you've asked me. First of all, I would like to thank for this wonderful opportunity to present our views, the student community coming together. And now, when we talk about motivation, when I was in 11th standard and preparing for my JEE, there was this one particular guy over there who had actually got a very great score in the JEE mains. And he came up to us and he talked to us about motivation. And he mentioned basically two aspects of it. The intrinsic motivation, some things which are within ourselves that motivate us to do something. And secondly is the extrinsic motivation. Now it could be our parents, it could be our peers, it could be our teachers who are motivating us from outside. So for me personally, as an individual, what keeps me motivated and what keeps me disciplined is that intrinsic feeling of knowing that what I'm doing right now is relevant to me or not. See, this is the biggest motivator for me, that when I look back 30 years, 20 years from now, whatever I have done in my life, is it still relevant to me? Like this class that I'm taking right now, this article that I'm studying right now, this Zoom meeting that I'm doing right now, is this going to be relevant to me when I look back at my life and I'm satisfied with myself? So that right there is the biggest motivator for me, and that is what keeps me going. And talking about discipline here, Rishabh, there's one very famous quote in the Bhagavad Gita which says "Yathe achasi tatha kuru." To put it in layman terms, it means that once you establish yourself in yoga, then you can go out there and do what you're supposed to do in life. So just having that feeling of equanimity is what I wish to attain, so that once I step outside in the real world and go out to give my contributions to the society and to my peers, I want to be in an equanimity position so that the external situations don't really affect me. So that is the kind of discipline that I really look for and I aspire for. So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Definitely, Indrajit. Thank you so much for giving us some tips and mantras to stay motivated, because I think I need to implement some of these in my life as well. So before moving forward to our next panelist, I was thinking if we can have an audience poll to know their perspective as well. So shall we, Saurabh? Yeah. So the poll would end in 30 seconds. Okay, so as expected, I guess 72% people are saying that the productivity has decreased. And that is an interest, not really interesting, because like I was thinking the same as well. But for me personally, I think my productivity has particularly increased, maybe because of the homely cooked food or something. I don't know. That was an interesting result from the poll. So Akash, I was wondering, we have been consistently hearing how we need to upskill ourselves and take full advantage of this lockdown situation, right? But at the same time, this is resulting in a kind of situation where we are attaching a self-worth to our productivity. And this makes us, this takes a toll on our physical as well as mental health. So what are your thoughts on this?
Right. So first of all, I have like an exercise for everyone here. So even though I can't see you, I hope you all obey me. So I would like ask you all to close your eyes. It's a very small exercise which I'd like to conduct. So like please close your eyes, everyone who is on call. Okay. So remembering what Puneet had said in the starting of the presentation, that you all had come like 6 months ago for 6 days or 15 days maybe. Your college had you had come home with limited clothes, limited books, and limited like other stuff from your college. So like think at the start of the pandemic, what all like things you had thought for yourself. Okay, so you have a lockdown, what all things you're going to do? Like you're going to do exercise, you're going to every day like read books, you're going to do meditation, you're not like going to see Netflix and like chill out, something like that. Okay, now open your eyes. So yeah, welcome all to the reality. Like you might have noticed that like I'm sure you all have understood, like 6 months ago you must have set like very different goals like at the start of the pandemic, which you might not have fulfilled till now. So what this like exercise I've like was to highlight is that like sometimes like in the flow of it, we usually like set two unrealistic goals for us, which we later realize that this is very like hard to achieve, like considering like you are not going to college. Something which Niharika mentioned, that there is a lack of like networking, which we like practical knowledge, something which Anirudh mentioned as well. So coming to this point of productivity, so surprisingly I was surprised, like not surprised to see the result, but like I had a contrary view. I think that my productivity increased primarily because in medical college, like I had a too much of, I thought this is like a too much of burden going to the college. And like in the lockdown, I was like better able to utilize my time in doing like non-medical stuff, which I am interested as well. So, I like learned coding. I entered doing parliamentary debating. So like all of those things are something which I might not have been able to do with my college on. So like on a personal level, I feel my productivity increase, and this would be like varying for each other. Like coming to the point of like physical health, I'm sure all would have set some goals that like they will be exercising and stuff, which as the time passed they realized that it's very difficult to keep up with those goals. Even if you are at home, even if you are like 15 hours to your disposal, it's really difficult to like have that exercise session. So what I think in general is that I think overall, even my physical health, it decreased over the whole like the 6 months of the pandemic. Some people were able to lose weight. I, on the contrary, gained weight. And like coming to the point of mental health, I'm sure like there was a like huge amount of stress at the start of the pandemic. अभी ऐसा लग रहा है कि virus चला गया है. Everyone is on the roads. People like seem to care a lot less now. But like on the mental health, I'm sure every one of us here are like, we should first be very thankful that like we all are sitting at the comfort of our home, dressed up so nicely, have a laptop in front of us. So we might not realize the mental toll it might have occurred on us. But if we consider like the majority of India's population, or like the whole world being locked down for so long in their homes, and like fear of contracting the virus, lack of funds, all of those would have added on to the stress of like the mental health.
Well said, Akash.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I think Pratham is waiting patiently from the start of the discussion. So I would like to bring Pratham to discussion. So Pratham, taking forward the discussion from what Akash just said, my question is to you that when you are on campus back in Delhi as a student, we interact with a lot of people, explore places, travel around, and do numerous other things, which is a major part of student life. So how has the social life of a student took a hit during the pandemic?
I mean, thank you for that question, Rishabh. And like personally, I feel like, to be honest, that's something that is a larger opportunity cost that has occurred to students, particularly those ever since the lockdown began, right? Because we're not going to college, it's not the same. And given how, as a second year student myself, you only barely get 8 to 9 months with your batchmates. And then I think this is the time where you actually can go ahead and like for undergraduates and like obviously people who are starting with their MBA, this will be probably a good time to go ahead and gel in. Of course, now that people are now starting with their new admissions, they do not have that sort of physical touch with their classmates. So I think that's number one, probably very problematic to an extent. But I think like Niharika talked about the network disruptions that happens in online classes, I'd also like to talk about a different sort of network. So as far as like that social life is concerned, I'm sure everybody is in a way or the other in touch with their friends. I think this pandemic has especially seen the boom of the likes of Among Us. I think is doing very well among peers, and everybody is literally on it every day. We have other games as well, Scribblio, Psych, and like all those sorts of things have been there to just channelize and enhance the communication and make sure that you're still able to keep in touch and interact with your peers. Obviously through activities like debating or case competitions or quizzes, you're also like interacting with them daily basis. So in that regard, I just feel like the network that you're able to get access to in college doesn't exist, primarily because I think all that small conversations that you have with certain individuals, that that hi hello routine, I think so in that regard social life to an extent has obviously taken a hit. But more so in terms of saying that people who earlier you were close to would definitely be still somebody you would still be on talking terms with, except the ones that you barely interacted with are the ones that are now being kept totally aloof. So in that regard, I think that's a section that we're not exposed to right now anymore, given how the pandemic has severely affected everyone and social ties. So all in all, I think like it's tougher to just go ahead and make sure that, just like be there and like just sit there while everyone, I mean, a lot of my seniors tell me that how hard it is for them to not have a farewell when they're passing out. But I think for us to see like probably a very essential year going away and like not being able to have that sort of relationship kicking in with our juniors as well is, I think, something that has definitely been troubling a lot of people, and I can stand, and like probably testify to that as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Pratham, for reminding us all the things that we are missing right now. But let's take the discussion to a more conspicuous point, and that is the online courses, which are gaining a lot of enrollments right now. So, Inderjeet, what do you think? These courses are really effective, or it's just for the CV building and LinkedIn? What's your take?
So again, a very interesting question, very relevant to the current times. As we see a shift towards digital and a shift towards distance learning. So a lot of the students who cannot physically go to the campuses right now, or who don't have the resources to enroll in a university education, they are making use of these courses to skill themselves, upskill themselves, and reskill themselves. So if you look at from that point of view, definitely platforms like Coursera, platforms like Udemy are very, very relevant in these times. But what I have personally experienced from these courses is that only when we apply those skills to a practical application is when they are meaningful to us. So there's a small quote that comes to my mind here, is that when the skill meets practicality, that is when excellence is achieved. So that is personally my take on it, that if we are doing it just for the sake of putting another certificate on our CV to a recruiter per se, or let's say that to any university application that we want to do and go ahead with, my take is that we should make sure that if we are getting these certificates, we should also make sure and apply those knowledges in any practical applications that we can, and then present them to, let's say, be it a recruiter or be it wherever we want to present ourselves to. So that's my take.
All right, Indrajit. So my next question would be to Anirudh, and taking the discussion to a more macro and broad level. So every year we know that lakhs of students go abroad for higher education, predominantly from STEM fields, maybe engineering, medicine. So, but with the imposition of travel-related bans in several parts of the world, and we all know that what is happening in countries like US, the restriction on student. So, what is your take on Anirudh? What is Anirudh your take on the current prospect of higher education outside of India?
Pretty good question. Thank you, Rishabh. So going ahead with the higher education process, I'll just break it into two parts. The first part, let me just talk about the test-taking procedure itself that we have. Primarily in this case, the GRE and GMAT for going ahead with any kinds of online applications. With the pandemic, the whole situation has been, so the immediate reaction for GRE and GMAT was, we'll conduct it at home for you. The standards for which were extremely hard and difficult to meet. I mean, the technical setup at home itself was difficult to procure. Following that, the level of the test also, it was complained that there was a slight difference, that it was probably a bit more hard or just more difficult to organize. And while they're monitoring everything, the test-taking process itself becomes difficult. Now on to the applications procedure per se. The trend has obviously been that foreign universities are encouraging students by decreasing their cutoffs, at least on paper. They're telling us that we have a lesser cutoff for GMAT, a lesser cutoff for GRE, more people can apply, we're going to give you all the chances. But then one important thing that is important is, again, just conducting the actual coursework. I know of a friend, 2 years senior of mine, who had applied for a robotics post-graduation in the US. Now, at that point in time, they had asked her if she wants to start the course immediately or if she could take a small break and join once the pandemic was over. Now, this was in March, when we didn't expect that the pandemic would go so far. She picked I'll attend the college later part, and now all of a sudden that's been postponed indefinitely. I mean, at least until the situation is resolved. Now, that puts a huge break. Now she's doing a research project and she's trying to upskill herself, but then this gap, how will we cover this? So the situation now, I'm a fourth year, so I would guess that for my batch, the institutes will probably have a better idea of how to go about it. We have to wait and see, because the applications have just started now. Early applications rolling would probably finish off by October end. So let's see how the institutes respond, and then probably we'll get the best picture on this. So that's it from my side. Over to Rishabh.
Yeah, thank you, Pratham. On a similar note, I wanted to bring Pratham into the discussion. So, since Pratham, you have a keen interest in economics and finance, and the current economic situation looks pretty unfavorable for the students entering the workforce. So, how are you working on being ready for all those scary placement interviews?
So like I think that's another long procedure that we have to go through, and I think start of second year is probably when you get into that mindset that this is something that you're gonna do and something that you're gonna be a part of. I'll break this into two parts since you asked me about how the current economic outlook is looking like in terms of the placement season and how we as students are prepping for it. I'll tell you what happened when the pandemic began, which was when the previous placement season was going on. And I saw seniors who had been earlier given offers, and literally, since the offers are given in the first semester, usually people have a lot of time to just go ahead and like enjoy themselves and chill throughout. So when that happened, and possibly that's exactly what they did, perhaps when the pandemic happened, so I know people like their offers were revoked. So that's also something that has happened. Speaking about present times, I know my seniors who are sitting through the placement season right now. We all like that also is there that, you know, a lot of companies are not coming in. So I think preparing for the placement would be, say, to look at it in the longer term, because I think given how for most people this is going to be their first job that they're going to bag out of the campus, it's important that you make sure that you have the right skill set in place and you're always trying to upskill yourself. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, say, a well-paying job. And given how the job market is also sufficiently contracted, it'll be safe to say that, you know, it's not going to be that easy to bag a job in the first place. Except the idea should be, say, not chase money, except in the long, it's the major idea and the central idea that I like to surround my prep along is basically that you need to be relevant in the long run. So try to work on those skills that make you feel relevant in the longer run, and I think everyone will be sorted. I mean, obviously we're suffering a big contraction right now. I think last quarter was a 23.9% contraction for the particular first quarter of financial year 21. But if you see in the longer run and in the longer scheme of things, I think with respect to particularly emerging markets like that of India, every time the United States goes into a recession, and every n+1 year, India's economic boom begins, which is basically countered by, say, the cheap money inflow that is there, and obviously the import bill that reduces as a result of, say, reduced oil prices, right? So I think even though the situation seems dire right now, we cannot possibly predict how the economic outlook is going to be, whether it's going to be a V-shaped recovery or a K-shaped recovery as is being talked about. But I think given as and when we have some clarity on, say, how the pandemic is going to pan out in the next 6 months, I think it won't be, say, a longer time for us to go ahead and like get that numbers coming in for the placements as well. So I think in the longer scheme of things, obviously normalcy will kick in. I just hope, and like we all can just possibly hope that it happens sooner than later.
Hope is what like echoing in throughout India. So well said, Pratham. So to take the discussion forward and set the context for the next question, I would like Saurav to launch the next poll for audience. Well, as you can see, the house is equally divided, and no wonder about it. So the next question I would like to ask, obviously you must have guessed, it's from the medical student Akash. So during the pandemic, one thing that we all feel grateful to are our frontline warriors like doctors, nurses, and other medical staff. So Akash, has your perception changed about your profession before and after the onset of pandemic?
Yeah, I would like definitely say that yeah, my perception has changed. And like before, keeping like going into the answer, like I've written a small poem. So जान है तो जहान है, जो जान देता है वो भगवान है, लेकिन जो लोगों की जान बचाता है वो एक इंसान है, और वो इंसान डॉक्टर है. तो like yeah, I'm sure everyone knows about like doctors, but I'm gonna like tell everyone here about like a very important thing, which is, you know, medical students are also like serving in the times of pandemic. So in specifically in Ahmedabad, there were like, okay, almost whole of Gujarat is now being called, but even in like end of July, around 25th July, the students of NHL Medical College and the students of LG Medical, they were called, and they used to go on the fields to take the swabs from the for the antigen testing. So like that was like, this is to highlight that like even medical students did respond to the call of the pandemic. And now like my seniors who are in final year student yet to be graduating, they are working in like clinical duties in the medicine department in the college. So yes, definitely like highlighting the all like, even one more thing that I'd like to talk upon is like like even in a pandemic situation where we would expect that like thali to sabne bajai thi, but like a more empathy towards like doctors, I still feel that like some people were a bit unempathetic. Like there were, you know, there was, you can say that I'm cherry picking incidences, but it's like in a pandemic, at least doctors' respect should have been increased. But I still see that there were like a few incidences of like harassing doctors, which, you know, through the forum, I would like to, you know, tell that like even when my mother comes, like my both of my parents are doctors. So even when my mother comes, she like calls me from the when she is in car, like telling me to open the door and, you know, like keep like the dustbin in our washroom, so that like she rubs the phone and like throws the tissue paper. Like, so even the doctors, like when they come home, they have this fear that, oh look, I might be able like infecting other members of the society. So yeah, like just the general perception, like the general, like the idea I'm trying to tell here is that yeah, there is a lot of risk that is being involved to the family, to their children, and even the students are coming forward. So that's like a very, you know, a huge shift, I would say.
Definitely, Akash. And we are really grateful to all the entire medical community of our country as well as the world, all the frontline workers who have been selflessly working 24/7 to save lives. I
Thank you so
salute to
much.
all them. Yeah, I salute all of them. So Niharika, coming to you, back to you, I was just wondering about the same question about physical and mental health of the student, particularly because when you are doing an MBA, there are a lot of things that we have to do, like, you know, simultaneously. There are a lot of issues that we have to deal with. So how are you dealing with all those stress,
So
particularly when
one
you're
thing
doing
that,
everything online? Yeah.
yeah, I think I could go on about this for hours, right? Because when you're talking about the mental and physical stress, right? So first I'm gonna like tackle the physical one, right? So before the MBA started, I was a really active person. I could go out, like I used to run and this and that, and now I'm stuck to the screen and like in one place, okay? Like to the point where I think there's this dissociation between like my familiar ties and my world outside. So I'm restricted to this like literally setup, okay? And one like sad thing that has happened with me is the fact that I have to clean my room every single day. I'm an untidy person. I know everyone's going to look at my bedroom. I cleaned it today. Please don't. But you know that's the thing. Like, you know, some minor particular things and aspects have to be looked at. And when I'm talking about like the physical constraints that I face, it's just there's so much of fatigue. We talk about the screen time, but I'm going to talk about sitting in one place in the same posture for hours on end, not being able to step out. I mean, people ask me when is the last time I have stepped out of the house or like out of, say, gone for a stroll or met with friends. I don't remember the last time I actually even crossed the border of my house, right? And that brings me to the mental aspect of it. Those of you who are doing MBA know that it's an absolutely like, you know, painstaking kind of career to choose, right? Because you're not restricted to one particular domain. I have friends who are engineers, doctors, and just like across. And this was my life even before, but now I'm in a closer contact. And there's this inherent need to outperform, right? Like there are so many opportunities that come by that we find it hard to refuse. We keep taking on more and more and more because we don't know, we don't have that aspect. Like for a long time, I think most of us face this problem with connecting, right? Even with like say our seniors and faculty, and I found this across all, you know, colleges. And I think that is a very important aspect because you need that support system. We don't have that. Like I said, like I think I was having a conversation with someone and I said, like, when I was asked this question, like if you are called on campus, what would be your reaction? What do you look forward to? And my answers was someone who's going to pass me the tissue when I'm crying. Because right now I don't have that, right? It's just me and my bedsheet and just grabbing it in a corner. But that human connect is missing. So other than the physical emotion, like having to use an electronic again to convey the same, all of this is considerably difficult. And adding to that, the network issues. I mean, we are all inherently talented people, right? I could not sing, but now I do because my network does that job for me. It'll just make me sing. And all of this makes it very difficult. So there's definitely these aspects that I have personally faced. And I vouch for most of the MBA students for that matter.
All right, like a lot of different perspective coming from all the panelists. So thank you to all the panelists, and this brings us to the end of segment 1 of our discussion. I think we all need a 30-second breather now because the next segment is going to be really intense. It is the rapid fire round. So 30-second breather and then Puneet will continue. Don't go anywhere. The next segment is going to be really funny.
So let's begin our second segment with Pratham. So it will be a set of quick 5 questions and you have to answer in one word or one phrase. So Pratham, you are the first one to go, right?
Yeah.
So the first question is, your first reaction when you heard the colleges are getting closed due to COVID?
Why? Like, why? Genuinely, like, why?
Okay. So what's one thing that you're missing most about the classroom learning?
I think there's the physical touch wherein teachers can be there and like, guide you through the process. You don't have to wait to unmute your mic and look for a turn when you're speaking. I think all that is better facilitated in physical space.
Definitely. Rate your enthusiasm on a scale of 1 to 10 to get back to college.
10, definitely.
Okay. Same here. Okay. So one word or one phrase that you would describe online education.
Maybe the future, but I think it's a long way to go.
Most hilarious excuse that you have heard from people during online sessions.
My internet is not working, so I can't connect. I have someone over, my background's not, all sorts of excuses, man. I can't particularly point out like one instance, but I think it's been a funniest ride to like just hear people giving up, just all sorts of excuses to make sure that the teacher doesn't get on the nerves.
Over to you, Rishabh.
All right, Pratham, those were some interesting answers. And so now we will have Indrajit for the rapid fire round. And for those of you who have joined us just now, Indrajit is MBA first year student at IIM Jammu. So Indrajit, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So here you go. What is the most commonly heard phrase in an online class?
Please mute yourself. Yeah.
How many mandatory webinars do you attend every week?
I'd say close to 10. That'd be a round figure.
Okay. So the next would be one thing you will miss the most about online education.
The freedom of waking 2 minutes before the class and saying present ma'am and then going back to sleep.
Nice. Okay, so the best excuse you have heard for not giving an answer to a cold call during a class.
Sir, I had a power outage in my area and now it's back. So
I think
I had to log out.
Many of us can relate to that. So the last one, one word or phrase to describe the online education. Your experience.
I would say it's been challenging, but certainly one challenge that has taught all of us a lot. So that's my take on that.
Okay, so now moving on to Anirudh. First is most important resource during online exam, books or phone?
Books. So still, I mean, you can use phone for anything, but books always.
Are you for real?
Okay. No. See, the OTP thing is actually very helpful because so there just one word. on WhatsApp, you'll have 10 different answers from which you have to choose. So on book, it's always better. You just, go with one straight away.
Okay. One feature that you would like to add on Zoom or other e-learning platform?
Oh, just me sitting over here, with a computer this time, but showing the higher education thing, the future.
Home cooked food or Maggie with friends in college? Which would you prefer?
Tough one, but home cooked food. Maggie, you can say, you'll eat Maggie while you're talking to friends also. So that's an advantage.
Okay. Most commonly heard phrase in online class?
Can you hear me? Every professor ever.
Okay. So ever got embarrassed by your family members while attending the online class?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's good. It gives a homely feeling to the class.
Okay. Over to you, Rishabh.
All right, Anirudh, interesting answers. So the next would be Niharika. So Niharika, are you ready? Niharika, are you there? I think she is facing some network issue.
I'm
Okay,
back.
she's back.
If you
Okay,
said she and the network issues, I'm assuming it's me. If you say network issues, I'm assuming it's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so for those of you who have joined just now, Niharika is a student at IIM Amritsar. So Niharika, we will begin the rapid fire. So some of the most hilarious excuses you have heard for not attending a mandatory webinar from your friends.
One thing I've heard so many, but definitely network issues. It's raining. When it's actually not, it's bright and sunny. So I think that's one of the grandest and the best ones. So yeah, there's definitely that.
So how many online courses have you enrolled and not touched again?
All right, here's the secret. No one tell anyone from my college. 0. I've enrolled for 0 and I've touched 0. I have 2 days.
Fair enough, quite honest. So what is the best emoji you could thought about yourself in this COVID times?
That's just crying emoji because that's all I do. I just cry, irrespective of COVID or not, but I'm just crying. So yeah, definitely that.
Okay. So the most memorable virtual background. I see many people use virtual background these days.
Right. So it was right at the beginning. Someone took us to San Francisco, I believe. So and it just keeps changing. I've traveled to so many places in the world. It's perfect.
I have seen so many memes background as well. People using memes background.
I think that's where the creative thing.
Yeah. So the last one, I think the answer is very predictable. Which is the first place you would visit after the COVID ends?
Oh, it's my campus. It's IIM Amritsar. No, nowhere else I'd rather be.
Absolutely. Over to you, Puneet.
Yeah. So moving on to Akash. So your reaction if you continue online education for one more year?
I'll just drop out of college.
That's brutally honest. Okay. So one thing that drastically changed for you after COVID?
Not being able to go to clinical postings.
Okay. Okay. So tell me one subject you would wish to continue online.
No subject I would wish to continue online.
Okay. Yeah. You require a lot of offline, practical learning as well, right? I get it.
Yeah, in one subject it could be biochemistry because or physiology. There's not that much of online practical knowledge required in that.
Definitely. Next one is one feature you would like to add on Zoom or other e-learning platform.
Yeah, I think maybe a proxy video adding. I can just add my a realistic face there and I can just leave in the background.
People are actually doing this. I have seen some people doing that.
Yeah, I saw videos as well.
Yes. So favorite snack to nibble during online class?
A favorite snack between online classes? It would be this saak. It's I'm a gujju, so it's it's a fried snack. You can call it a long chips, just like soya sticks, something like that.
I think I've seen because my roommate in college is as well a guju, so he used to bring all these.
Must have seen it.
Yes. So that brings us to the end of second segment, and thank you all the panelists for being such a sport. It was really fun. Over to you, Rishabh.
Yeah, Puneet. So let's quickly conclude the discussion so that we can listen to some more interesting unheard stories from the audience. So I would like to begin the conclusion with Mr. Akash. So what are your concluding remarks on the whole theme of education in COVID times?
One of the things which I mentioned was this clinical posting. So what I feel is like for me personally, I used to enjoy going to the wards, and only after going to the wards, I used to open my books. So when that like clinical posting is removed, just by online lectures, I have negative negative motivation to go and look at the books, because that factor has completely been removed. So it's almost again it's impossible to recreate that communication with the patient and all that. So I think maybe somehow bring it like a using a watch like a artificial what's called AR, augmented reality. Yeah. So maybe augmented reality could be brought in the medical the field, where still able to communicate with the patient. That is I think it's the most important thing that could be added in the COVID times for medical students.
Thank you, Akash. That would be great. I think the online, AR thing would be great for the medical field, especially.
Yeah, right.
So moving on to Ms. Niharika, your final take on how online education is going to shape post-COVID world.
So I think one thing is adaptability, right? Because we have learned so much. Like I started the conversation with how I've become from, like a WhatsApp user to a WhatsApp web, small difference. But like, this is something that I've learned, right? Like in terms of learning, I started learning on my own because I can't really rely on like professors or my peers as much because of the gap that is there. So definitely post COVID, we see a lot of independence that's coming in, whether it be from like our professor side, from like the professional side, or from our side for that matter, right? So there's going to be a lot of self-motivation involved because like I said, when we are holed up in one place, the only thing that can motivate us is ourselves, right? And when you're talking about the independence, we are taking up these charges on our own. We understand that. So as far as online education is concerned, I think Pratham mentioned this. I do believe that it's something futuristic and that will probably happen. It's also brought in one important issue. If we can provide network and access to most of the population, then automatically we have proved that we can now provide that education. And that is something that can be like explored and should be explored. So as far as online education and like employability goes, I think it's going to be a good outlook in say 2-3 years time. But yeah, definitely.
All right. So, Mr. Anirudh, your concluding remarks on some of the changes that could be brought to online learning platforms so that the student have a better learning experience.
So the first thing I probably feel is that since it came out so suddenly, the adaptability from the institution side is probably something that needs to come up over the next few months, hopefully. Once the professors are clear and are confident about using the system or using the platform, I think the students themselves will also get a flow of going through with the process. And looking at the way we are going ahead, probably this online system is a necessary evil. So we'll just have to wait and see. And probably because we are humans, we are adaptable, we probably get used to and even innovate in the ways in which we can do better. But one point I'd like to actually explain was something that Indrajit explained, which is about upskilling being the key to progress. It's this time when we have online education, when some other skills apart from your own core knowledge, there's a greater ability to learn those particular aspects. So probably if the institute also pitches in a bit more and helps you to generate skills that go beyond your curriculum, beyond your department, and just beyond your thing, so that it becomes a more generalized 360-degree view, I think that's going to be the game changer for career prospects also in future. So that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Anirudh. So moving on to Mr. Indrajit, your final remark at the topic on the topic.
Yeah, Puneet. So on a concluding note, I would like to say that considering the times we are in, one thing which has really been enforced in my mind is a saying that I heard earlier by somebody called Mr. Murphy. And he gave us a law which is called as the Murphy's Law, which it practically says that what has to go wrong or what could go wrong will go wrong. So it has been pretty evident from the times that we are living in right now that what could have gone wrong with the world in 2020 has gone wrong. So we must always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So that is what my mantra for life is, that always be prepared for the worst that could happen to you and then try and extract the best you can from that opportunity itself. So this opportunity of online education is something which has been given to, we are fortunate ones, the batch of 2020, who are actually experiencing this right now. And what we can make the most out of it is in our hands. So I think that is true for every opportunity that we get in life. So it could be a curse for one and a boon for the other. So that is my take here on online education, is that I personally would like to extract the most from it. And one very big, I could say positive note is that the whole, the discussion that we had today, it has been made possible due to these online platforms. So I would, vote in favor of these platforms. So definitely it has done more good rather than bad. Now, how can we turn it to actually create a revolutionary change around us is in our hands. And I'm certain that we can all do that. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, Indrajit. On that positive and optimistic note, I would like Mr. Pratham to wrap the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Thank you for that opportunity, Rishabh. I think like any talk or say discussion revolving around education in these uncertain times cannot possibly go ahead without us giving our due credits to all the teachers who have necessarily gone ahead and like upskilled themselves to levels we couldn't have possibly thought of. And I think obviously this is an arrangement no one wanted. We all despise, say, online teaching and online learning, except I think credit where it's due. At least I've seen it in my college. Teachers have genuinely put in effort and trying to make presentations when they actually had no idea how to go about the whole process earlier. So I think with us as students, it's obviously a two-way street. And I think down the line, and obviously we've come very far off, say, from where we started, which was, say, in the beginning of March, we have better, say, infrastructure in place. We also have, say, that, the necessary prerequisites required to just go in and like attend a particular class. So I think all that skills have come in, and I think down the line, if this goes on for a longer time, we'll probably be more equipped to like deal with online classes than we were earlier. But a huge credit to teachers. I think some students aren't, say, disrespectful enough to like the contribution that is being given, because we may feel that we're attending classes from say 8 to say 5, but teachers are also probably putting in equal amount of effort at the back, which we do not get to recognize or see. So I think kudos to everyone who's just being patient and just being there and respecting each other. And I think that's the way to go about it. Mutual respect and like making sure that this journey, which no one wants, is as smooth as possible. And when we do transition into a phase that is say offline again, things kick in and normalcy comes in very soon. So here's to hoping for normalcy. And on that note, I'll like to conclude here.
Absolutely, Pratham. Teachers should be respected all around the world, and obviously India is a country which respects teachers a lot. It's our culture and tradition. So thank you, Pratham, and thanks to all the panelists for joining us today. And before we wrap up, as promised, we have some audience members who are eager to share their stories as well. But because of time constraint, we will be able to give chance to only a few of them. And just a cautionary advice: avoid political comments and remarks on your institute. So can we have someone from the audience who would like to share their stories of online education? And keep it short to 1.5 minutes. Feel free to unmute and start your video. Anyone in the audience?
So yeah, I would like to add a experience. So the best thing about the online classes is that you can have your snacks and drinks anytime in between. But this experience came as a haunting one for me, because in one class I forgot that my video was on. Class was like 5 minutes over. So what I did, I started eating a guava, and I had it like little by little, and then half a piece was left. So I just put it all in at once. And just then the teacher called me, explained me innovation at Apple. So I was just like keep it in my mouth and speaking something. So I just like, what did I do? I still do not remember at all.
Absolutely. There is a lot of Zoom bombing going on in all the classes across India. Cameras were turned on when they were not to be turned on. So do we have any more interesting stories from the audience?
I would like to add one story of mine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it is rather an unfortunate story. It is not anything funny like Ratish's. But yeah, what happened was there was a power cut in our area, so we lost the power for the entire day. So yeah, I have heard the discussion very closely. Like they have pointed out the self motivation is very important in these times. I also agree, because self motivation is what is keeping us what is motivating everyone to sit in front of laptops and learn for the whole day. But the thing that day was I missed like 4 classes altogether just because of the technical issues, or it did not help me in that particular day. So I would like to add that as a complete point, like it would be helpful for the only people who had no problems. Like if everything is ideal, then I would say that online thing is the best, like it would increase our productivity and all. But considering the present situations, I would also like to go to normalcy, as pointed out by Pradham. And also the one most important thing that I wanted everyone to talk about is the role of teachers. Like the really they have we don't have technology that is very much I don't know, people friendly. As a young generation, we are more used to going around with new technology. We play around and figure things out more quickly than our teachers. So all of us need to be more empathetic towards teachers, and that is what I feel. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Sarvani. So if we do not have more participants in the audience, then I would like to propose the final vote of thanks. So do we have someone from the audience? Final call.
I would like to share one thing. It happened like all the early morning classes, right? 9 o'clock.
Sorry, who is talking? Can you please give a brief introduction about yourself? Okay.
I'm Chandrasekhar. I'm a first year student from IIM Amritsar. So thank you everyone. It was such a great session. I really enjoyed it. So I just want to tell you, like, one thing that happens with most of us is like the early morning session, you feel a lot sleepy. So it was that interesting accounting class also. So actually I slept off in between at 9:30, and then I woke up and next class has begun. So actually next day sir mentioned like you guys sleep off during the session and forget to end the class. So guys, please be careful when you do that. Keep an alarm or ask someone to wake you up.
Thanks, Chandrasekhar, for that quick tip. And due to the constraint or paucity of time, we would not like to have any further stories. So I would like to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of Vani, the Literary and Public Speaking Club of IIM Amritsar. First of all, big thanks to all the panelists for joining us today and taking out time from the Sunday evening and bringing a lot of varied perspective to the Samvad discussion. I would like to particularly thanks Bhakta, the Public Speaking Club of IIM Jammu, the Toastmaster Club of NIT Trichy, the Debating Society of SRCC Delhi, and the Debating Society of GMC Baroda, on behalf of Vani, for accepting our invitation and sending students from your college to our event. And finally, I would like to thank all the ladies and gentlemen present in the audience for being such a patient audience. And we hope you had great fun and learning from the discussion. On that note, we call it a wrap. See you again next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. It was fun.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.